In this video, we visit the location where Australia's most infamous outlaw, Ned Kelly, met his end. But the story of his final stand is nothing short of legendary. The start of the end for Ned Kelly began in the small country town of Glenrowan in Victoria. Upon entering the town, it's immediately obvious that Ned Kelly's legacy is celebrated in this town, with murals all over the walls and cafes named after him. On 26th of June 1880, Ned Kelly and his gang rode to Glenrowan, where they decided they were fed up with life on the run and wanted to plan an ambush on police. They murdered a man named Aaron Sherritt, knowing that police would send reinforcements from Melbourne by train. They decided they were going to derail the train and kill the police reinforcements. While Ned Kelly and his gang waited for the train of police to arrive, they forced the townspeople out of their homes at gunpoint into the Glenrowan Inn, now just an empty lot of land with violent history. The police received a tip that the Kelly gang was planning an ambush on the train, so they decided to surprise them instead by surrounding the Glenrowan Inn. What you see here is the location the Victorian police took shelter as Ned Kelly and his gang stepped out of the inn, ready for a gunfight and ultimately ready to die. The whole gang was wearing homemade armour, with Ned Kelly head to toe in the iconic armour we know him by today. The police and trackers at first didn't know what they were looking at. A tall, dark and haunting figure firing endless bullets at them, some of the trackers believing he was not a human but a demon. During the gunfight, Ned Kelly was hit several times in his arms and legs, although the armour worked in preventing any fatal shots to his head or body. It was then that he decided to retreat around the back of the inn, while the other Kelly gang members kept the police busy. Ned fled through the bush, circling around the police with the plan of ambushing them from behind. Battered, dazed and bleeding heavily from his shattered left arm, Ned arrived at this location where he found his horse stood in a fan-shaped clump of trees. He removed the padded cap from under his helmet to try and stop his blood flow. Staggering, he somehow managed to mount his horse and then rode east to meet his cousin, Tom Lloyd. Ned only had one good hand and was barely able to reload his revolver. Despite this, he continued to challenge the 30 police officers who were positioned around the inn. Bullets thumped into his helmet. His face was battered to a pulp by his facepiece, which lacked any padding. He's quoted saying, "I could have got away last night, for I got into the bush with my grey mare and lay there all night, but I wanted to see the thing end." Meanwhile, armed sympathisers ready to join the Kelly gang. Some accounts say there were 150 men ready to fight for Ned, but he called them off. The location you're seeing now is where Ned Kelly was shot in the legs by police and finally apprehended. The sign reads, "Early on the cold winter morning of Monday, June 28, 1880, the seriously wounded Edward Ned Kelly finally fell at this place and was captured, brought down by Sergeant Steele's double-barrel shotgun, fired from across the nearby creek." The siege continued for hours as the rest of the Kelly gang, including Ned's brother Dan Kelly and friend Steve Hart, were still inside the inn, exchanging gunfire with police. They let the hostages go in the afternoon and were eventually both found dead inside, with bullet wounds either inflicted by themselves to avoid capture or the police during the siege. Ned was the only surviving member of the Kelly gang. He was sent by train to Melbourne Jail from the station you see here. In Melbourne and Sydney, crowds stood outside newspaper offices with word of what had happened, and within hours, news of Ned's capture had spread as far as London. By noon, photographers arrived in Glenrowan, setting up their bulky cameras in tents around the scene. Ned was executed in Melbourne jail on the 11th of November 1880. His mother was in the same jail serving her sentence at the time of his execution. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing, and if you have any ideas for my next video, leave a comment down below. Cheers.